I had to make that painful decision because I was stuck. I couldn't sell because I had lost the conviction. And if I left, I would have given up quite a bit of comma.
Welcome to the One Day at a Time podcast, where we take things one day at a time. Tuning in the studio, we have Seth.
Hi.
Or otherwise known as Sethisfy.
Sethisfy, yeah, it's a bad pun on my name.
Okay, Seth, you want to do a quick introduction about yourself?
I'm Seth, and I think currently middle-aged already. Moving on to my middle age.
I don't think so.
Okay, mainly I do content creation online, mainly on personal finance. I also have a day job also in the realm of finance. Yeah, I used to teach tuition, but I've given that up because it got too, what's the word for it? Tedious. Yeah. Tuition is a very tedious job. I mean, the money is good at first, but when you've been doing it for 9 years, I think it's a good run. So I actually stopped doing that.
Okay, so before you were doing, so how did your whole, so you create content on YouTube, right? And you have a blog, like you write finance content and you teach tuition, right?
Used to.
And now you are also a financial advisor, right? So you a lot of things that you're doing apart from the tuition thing has got to do with finance, right? So before you even enter the workforce, right? What did you study? Did you think that you were going to go headfirst into like the finance space?
No, actually, it was, I think as with most people, okay, maybe not, but as with some people, right, we tend to stumble into our professions. Yeah, and I think that really happened to me because I actually didn't make it to uni. My A-levels were like damn bad, like triple D or something like that. Yeah, it was terrible. So after NS, I had a few options, right? One, which is to go to a private uni, 2, go overseas to study, or 3, to start working. So I took the third option, right? Because, private uni, I feel that there still is a stigma.
Yeah,
right?
for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't want to go through that, few years of studying just to be like a second-rate graduate. Okay, no offense to those who are. But I mean, that's the reality that I saw at that time. So I thought, maybe I explore studying overseas. And then the cost of studying overseas is crazy. It is
doesn't
very
make too
bad.
much sense sometimes.
Yeah. And I actually didn't know what I wanted to do at that time. Yeah, I thought I wanted to study law. Yeah. So my dad actually told me, if you want to study law, you want to go to like UK to do it. Okay, we can support you financially. It's not easy, but we can send you there. But I think he also surprised me by saying that actually if what's the purpose of studying law, right? He asked me. I was like, earn money. And then he was like, you want to earn money, you don't have to study law. So I thought it was quite a interesting view from people of my parents' generation, because they tend to be like, you go to uni,
right?
You study hard, then you make money. But my dad said, go and work, go and try working Then I thought, interesting perspective. So I decided to work, and then I stumbled into insurance sales. Yeah.
But this was before your whole tuition thing.
Yes, it's a whole history. So we're starting from the beginning if you want to hear that.
Yeah. Okay. So your first job was actually being an insurance agent,
First official job was a telemarketer.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a part-time thing. So while I was figuring out what to do, right, in between Dota and gnawing at home, I thought, there's this part-time gig, which is a telemarketing job. Okay, the pay was not too bad. So I went, and I think 2 or 3 days in, the boss, right, I mean, he's the insurance manager, telemarketing for an insurance agency. So he realized that I could speak quite okay.
Right.
Like,
So he recruit you.
Yeah. Why not be an agent? You can do the calling and then, you can earn more, etc. So I thought, interesting. I went to consult my parents again. Okay, I'm quite consultative of my parents. I really listen to them. I'm mama's boy. Right? Yeah. So
it's good. Yeah.
My mom used to be an insurance agent way back. Yeah, way back. Also, she used to teach tuition also. Yeah.
Oh, so you really walk her path.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So she told me to try, right? She said it's a good experience. It's good learning curve. There are good learning opportunities there. So yeah, I said, let's try it out. Yeah. So I started off in insurance.
So how did you go from telemarketing and then you were kind of converted into an insurance agent to teaching tuition?
Wow, that one another journey. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just continue on my
your life
path,
journey. Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so insurance sales. Okay, the money was actually not too bad, right? I was 21 years old. Okay, no degree, no skills whatsoever. The title was financial consultant. Wow, sounds very good and all.
Yeah.
And the commission was really very good, right?
I'm sure. I mean, at 21, for sure, you are earning more than most people at that age.
Yeah.
Your peers.
Yeah, I would say if you compare me to a graduate at that time, right, I was earning quite a bit more.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, sales ma.
Yeah. I mean, I could sit down with a client, a prospect at McDonald's for like 2 hours,
Right.
close a sale, and then be like $4,000-5,000 richer. Yeah, that kind of thing lah. Yeah, so over time, I start to realize. I start to think, the money is a bit too good, right? Like, what's the catch? Yeah, so I began to explore a little bit more into the products I was selling. We were trained to sell the products, right? We were given a script to how to do it, etc. Right, and then I went to dig a little bit more about the products, went to research, and I realized that the products were not great. Yeah, the product type was not good. So the product types I was selling back then were things like ILPs, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of ILPs,
right.
And endowment policies lah. So the product types weren't the best really. And then within the product class itself, right, the company that I was representing had very lousy products. So it's kind of a double whammy for my clients, right?
Is this in hindsight kind of thing? Like at that time, did you think that also?
Oh, at that time, I discovered that, hey, company B has another product exactly the same as my company, but theirs slightly better. Yeah, so there's no way I could justify selling it to my clients because at that time, a lot of my clients were, we call it a warm market, right? So people relatives, friends, etc. And then of course there's the cold market who people totally, total strangers, right? And when they bought from me, I felt that there was a measure of trust that they placed in me. And by selling them something subpar, I feel that I was betraying that trust. Yeah, so that led me to explore options outside of the insurance agency. Yeah.
So that's when the tuition thing started?
No, not yet.
Okay,
not yet.
Okay.
So I was very much in the financial consultancy role, right? So it's a very grandiose title, right? But we weren't doing financial consultancy. We were selling product sales.
Yeah, you're basically a salesperson, right?
Yeah, and insurance sales. So I decided, okay, maybe there's a better platform elsewhere where I can actually be a financial advisor. So at that time, this was way back in 2009, 2010. Yeah. Oh my God, almost 15 years ago. Yeah, so at that time, there was this thing called IFA. Okay, it's been there for about 10 years at that time. Yeah, so it's not a new platform, but it was still not that heard of.
Right.
Yeah, but there were really companies set up and they were independent. They could sell from multiple companies. So I thought that's exactly what it should be, right?
Correct.
You can be an independent advisor, not tied to any insurance company, and then you compare and contrast products and pick the best for your client. Yeah, so I decided to quit. And it was quite a painful decision because insurance sales, the nature of it is that a lot of your income is from recurring commissions, right? So when they pay the first year, you get your first year commission. They pay the second year, you get a second year one, right? So when you sell the policy at the start and you don't wait until the second year to collect your commission, you will miss out quite a bit. Yeah. But I had to make that painful decision because I was stuck. I couldn't sell because I had lost the conviction. And if I left, I would have given up quite a bit of comma.
For sure, yeah. So you decided to move to an IFA because you kind of need to believe what you're selling, right?
Correct,
if not, it's very agonizing to go to work every day selling a product that you don't believe in and you wouldn't buy yourself.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after you moved to an IFA, you were kind of focusing on doing that for a while also?
Yeah. So I went over and I decided, okay, client's interest first. Right, I just want to sell the best product to them. And then that was the another round of realization that the best products, right, the products that are the best for the clients usually don't generate much commission. Yeah. So I thought, okay, at that time, maybe it doesn't really matter, right? I can make it up with volume. So I actually started a blog at it. Right, it had some traffic, it had some inquiries coming through there.
Was that Sethisfy? Was that like your current?
No.
It's
that time was
Sethisfy.com.
Okay. I think it's still around. I still maintain it. So if you want to read some content about 20 plus year old Seth, yeah, it's still up there. Actually, I should just port it over to my current one, but easy. Yeah, so but the volume never really came. Yeah, so I was earning like on average 1,000 plus per month.
From the blog?
No, from
your sales.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Which is I would say not sustainable, right? I mean, it was enough to get by because I don't spend a lot, but can forget about buying a home, going for holidays even. I remember having to scrimp and save quite a bit, like even go for holidays have to be absolute budget one. Which is also quite interesting experience on its own. I actually managed to travel Tokyo 11 days for 1,500. Air tickets, accom, all.
Did you write an article about it?
No, at that time I already gave out the blog already. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you converted to IFA, you're kind of making obviously a lot less than before.
Yeah.
Was that how the tuition thing started?
Yeah. Okay, finally we reached the tuition part. Yeah. So at that time, 1,000 plus per month. It's quite. I think that period I would say. What's the word to use? I think it scarred me somewhat. Yeah, so I was very frugal at that time. Yeah, and even till now, I still feel like I still live in the shadows of earning 1,000 plus per month. Yeah. I was in no way poor, right? Most of my family is not...
Right.
Yeah, it's not,
you had a roof over your head.
Yeah. So I was living rent-free. I mean, I didn't really have to support my parents. But even at that kind of income level, as a working adult, yeah, I think it kind of shaped my worldview on money. Yeah. So, okay, the tuition part, right, was, I think obviously because money was a concern. Yeah, so my friend just so happened was giving up a couple of students. Yeah, then he was like, hey, do you want to take over?
Oh, because he's too busy for them.
Busy is one word to use. Right. I think he just lazy. I just want to teach. Yeah. Okay. So I thought, okay, interesting. My academics were actually not too bad. Even though I didn't make it to uni, my PSLE O levels, they were okay.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, I guess I can teach. So I went to try. And I realized, it's actually quite fun. Yeah, it's actually quite fun teaching. And it gave me regular income. At that time, it was quite a low rate. He charged the students quite a low rate. So I took over at that rate also.
What did you teach actually?
Mathematics. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So he passed me a pair of brothers. So I go to their place every Tuesday, Thursday. I still remember it was like 6 to 9 p.m.
Wow, 3 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours. Because the older brother and then the younger brother.
Also back to back.
Yeah.
Not together.
Yeah. And each time I went, I think it was 3 hours. I think $40.
Per hour?
No,
for 3 hours?
Yeah, for 3 hours.
Jeez, okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't really have a reference point, but that seems awfully little for a professional.
It's extremely low.
Because these days, right, I'm pretty sure you work retail or what, you already get paid more than $40 for 3 hours. Right?
I guess $40 divided by 3, like 10 plus. Yeah, I was being paid 15, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
about 13,
45.
like about $13.
15. Okay, now that, I think it's 45. Yeah, so it's 15 per hour. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But of course, I was going twice a week, right? So it was $90 a week. And then in a month, it was $360. $360 is almost 40% of $1,000 salary at that time. So it made sense. It made a lot of sense for me because my FA job wasn't taking up every single day, right? I was not busy the whole time. Yeah, so I taught on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then after that, I added one more student. So it made a lot of sense. Yeah, it soon took over my income as the main income source, which was not difficult because $1,000, I think even part-time tutors, right, undergrads who teach tuition, they will earn far more than 1,000 per month. So it's very easy to overtake my FA income. And soon, when something overtakes your main income, that becomes your focus.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So did you ever give up the FA thing, or did you kind of just left it alone in the background and focus on the tuition thing for a while?
Yeah, I actually tried doing both because FA, the time commitment, right, when you doing it from a part-time basis, it's actually not that high, right? Because most of the time, most FAs, what are they doing? I think most FAs, they are focused on prospecting.
Yeah,
right. They are cold calling, they're doing road shows, etc.
Right.
Or meeting appointments. So for me, because of my website at that time, I was actually more or less passively getting some leads from there. Right, I will write about my thoughts. My thoughts are very, I think, quite raw, quite at that time very what's the word to use? Extreme. Right? People think that I'm quite extreme now. But you should hear my thoughts when I was like, early 20s.
Right.
Yeah, I thought I knew everything, and then I wrote quite aggressively against the practices and industry. I mean, I still feel strongly about the practices now, but I think my views now are a little bit more nuanced and balanced.
Right.
Yeah, so at that time, I would attract a lot of people who, not a lot, but I think it was averaging once a week, which is actually not bad.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, for FA people to, without much effort, people coming to you. Yeah, so I could do that part-time, and then my tuition was the full-time thing. It started to become the full-time focus.
And when did you kind of transition? Not exactly transition, but like added back the FA part, or rather finance part, into your whole equation? Because ever since your tuition thing, I believe you started a new like blog thing, right?
So the path was, okay, so far the story is, we started insurance agent.
Yep.
Okay, IFA that don't earn much, right? Then becoming a freelance tutor, right? So I realized that this tuition thing was growing, right? It's growing quite fast for me. So I decided to start a tuition center. Yeah, so I hit up a friend. I was like, hey, want to do a business?
Right.
He was sick of his job, so he said yes. Yeah, then I managed to convince him to start a tuition center with me. And that actually was my main income source for many years. We started in 2015, right? And then I've been actively teaching until last year at the tuition center.
So like 8 years.
Yeah.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so that was the path. So from freelance tutor, I spun it off to a business.
Right.
And yeah, I taught for many, many years. Then 2020, I think I started to feel a bit burnt out from teaching. And then my interest was always in personal finance, I realized.
Right.
So I just started a website, a blog. It was really a blog. It was an online diary.
Right.
I named it Sethisfy because it was really meant to be something personal.
Right.
But it ended up, I ended up talking about all kinds of things, but the personal finance posts were the ones that got traction. Yeah. So it became the main focus on
because it's also a topic that you're very interested in so when you're passionate about something, you tend to be more authentic about it, and authenticity usually attracts the right people, right?
Correct. It was that or politics, and luckily I didn't go politics.
That would have been a very interesting route.
The first post I wrote was a lengthy post about 377A, which luckily did not see the light. Because at that time it was very controversial to talk about it. Yeah. So I didn't publish it, thankfully. I think it's somewhere in my drafts. Yeah.
Okay, so right now, or rather, let's talk about at your peak, right? At your peak, because one of the things that I wanted to kind of like have a conversation with you about today is how many hustles is too many, because amongst some of our mutual friends, like many people know you as the guy who does many things, right? So
it's just Kelvin lah.
No, I feel like Josh, like he also Josh knows you also, and Kelvin always says that you do many things, right? And what is and these things, right? They are not. I would say, especially for the things that you're doing, they are not exactly side hustles either. Like most of the things that you do, for most people, right, is their main thing. Right, it requires a lot of effort, energy, and commitment. Right, like writing a blog, making videos on a relatively consistent basis, being a advisor to people's personal finance. So like their life is literally in your hands, and being a tuition teacher with the grades of the kids are kind of almost literally in your hands. And these are all like very heavy responsibilities, right? It's not kind of like, I have a day job, I go to the office 9 to 5, and I start a Shopify store doing drop shipping kind of thing. Like if the drop shipping thing fails, then like so be it lah. You wasted a couple of $1,000 on setting up the shop, running ads. But a lot of the things that you were doing concurrently, for that matter, requires a lot of commitment, and it's very heavy responsibility because you are literally touching the lives of your clients lah, whether they are students or they are readers of your blog, or they are like clients for your financial advisory work and things like that. So at your peak, right, how many things were you doing at the same time? We take stock.
Yeah, I think it's also good to clarify that there are different times, different time periods lah. So at my peak, 3 lah. So it was the online content creation, my day job as an investment advisor, and then the third would be tuition. So based on these 3, right? How much time is kind of like on average lah? Did you at that time allocate to each profession? Okay, so let's talk about the peak period lah.
Right,
which is
period.
okay. I refer to that as peak because now it's obviously changed. I think have I declared this on my website? No, I think I need to update. So you are getting it first.
Exclusive. You heard it here first.
Okay, so at my peak, right? So I was doing all 3.
Yeah.
So the order of events were tuition business, right? Tuition business ready, then my website and YouTube,
right?
And then my day job.
Right.
Okay, so my tuition business was set up in 2015. So by 2020, so my peak, I would say, when I was running all 3 is 2022. Right, so by then it was already self-running. Like a lot of the heavy lifting we have done, right? Students were coming to us on their own. We didn't have to do a lot of marketing. In fact, we were doing almost nothing in terms of marketing. Yeah, so all I had to do was turn up for classes and teach. Yeah, and I was doing mostly mathematics, which had very little prep work. English and science, I find that they had a lot of prep work, so I focused on mathematics.
Right.
Yeah, so that's one way I reduced my time obligation on that aspect.
Right.
The second was my website and content creation. So again, the heavy lifting I think was at the start trying to find an audience. So by 2022, I actually had an audience already. Yeah, so I had a number of subscribers. YouTube was pretty new at that time, but it was a side thing lah. Even now, YouTube is still my side thing.
Right.
Yeah, so I just had to write one post a day. That was the requirement or the quota that I set for myself, which I still keep to this date lah.
Right.
Yeah, so one post a day. Yeah, and so it didn't really require that much time because I could take an afternoon on Sunday. Maybe I can pen 3-4 articles. Then I have a bank to release. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then the day job started in mid of 2022. Yeah, so when I was first doing all three, right, my day job was not really that hectic.
Your day job being a financial advisor right now, right?
We are a very different kind of firm.
Right. Yeah, you
so we are
mentioned,
salaried. So we are not like own time, own target kind. Right. We are a 9 to 6 kind of job.
Right.
So you have to go to the office and then be there.
Right. That's why you keep referring to it as a day job, right?
Yeah, it's a day job. Yeah, but even then there was a lull period lah. So when we first started, because I was part of this new segment at my company, so we were doing more business development stuff. We weren't really meeting clients, so it's not as hectic as actually now. Yeah, so at that time I could still juggle all three because 9 to 6 I would go teach lessons, and my employer was very understanding lah. They knew that I had this obligation to my students, right? So they let me go off early. So I was not 9 to 6. I mean, everybody 9 to 6. I left at 5.
9 to 5.
Yeah, 9 to 5, go and have a quick dinner, then go and teach like 2 lessons. So lessons will be maybe 7 to 10 at night. Yeah.
And weekends also?
Weekends, Saturday.
Right.
So Sunday is free day, Sunday is YouTube day. Yeah, so that's how I arranged it for myself lah. There are certain days marked for certain things. And I think the main thing that at that time I believe was, I mean I still believe it now lah, that Pareto's principle lah, right? It's 80-20 rule, which is 80% of your results come from 20% of your effort. Right, so as long as you set up something already, right, your 20% of effort will translate to 80% result. And that's enough, right? Because you want to get from 80 to 100, you need to really put in that additional effort, a lot more additional effort to reach 90% or 100%. So my view at the time was, hey, you might as well just go to another field, put in 20%, get 80%, and then you multiply lah. Yeah, and for a while, I think it worked lah.
Right. Okay. So right now you kind of have dropped off on the tuition business side of things to focus on your day job as well as your content creation, which is a lot more. I guess works a lot more hand in hand lah, because they're all talking about personal finance and whatever that you I guess do in terms of research and learning for your blog, for your YouTube, kind of translates a little bit to your day job, and then vice versa.
Correct.
Every time you talk to a client, you when you talk to enough clients, you kind of notice people's maybe habits in terms of personal finance, and that translates into content for your blog, and it's kind of more. I would say it's almost like the same job lah. In some
synergistic
sense.
Law. So which is why Josh does both YouTube on personal finance, and his day job is a financial advisor.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's another so-called trick lah, to have multiple things, which is you find things that have overlapping domains, have synergy between each other. Yeah. Tuition, of course, the line is not so clear lah. But I think the way I see it, right, my entire skill set, because as someone without a degree, right, my entire skill set is explaining things to people, right? Be it my day job as an investment advisor,
right,
my content creation side of things, or my tuition side is just to explain concepts. Yeah, but of course, tuition, the link is not so clear. Yeah, so and over time, as I mentioned, it's been almost a decade of teaching. I'm really quite burnt out from that, so I decided to
take a step back lah.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I'm quite curious to know your opinion is that in your opinion, right, or rather, okay, so these days, there are many people out there, including influencers like yourself and I guess regular people, they feel like having a day job and then going for a regular salary is sometimes not very sufficient because of the insane increase in cost of living, especially in Singapore. Not even talking about like the, your increased inflation, but a lot of other costs, right? They add up, like your additional 2% GST, and all these things, like, they add up. And a lot of people feel like if you don't have a side income, a side hustle, it is very agonizing to survive, especially if you have things that are very, very hefty. For example, like having kids, and you want the best for your kids, and all like kids things are generally not very cheap lah. Or maybe you have a couple of dogs or cats, and it's very easy to splurge on these things, right?
Yeah.
So what is your opinion on having or rather people going out there to build a secondary or even tertiary income source like yourself?
I feel that it's actually something that you should try if you have the interest for it. Yeah, I think to purposely go out there to earn a second income, actually that links to cost of living issues, which is a whole topic of its own, right?
Right.
Okay, but I feel that if you feel like doing a side hustle, right, you need to have the interest to sustain it. Otherwise, I think it's going to be quite tough working a few things at once if you don't have the interest to, to carry, carry you along.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even with interest, right? I'm very interested in the things I do. I also feel burnt out, so I can't imagine people who do side hustles just purely for
money,
income's
right?
sake.
Yeah, because I mean, similar to you, I also do multiple things, and along the way, I also realized that no matter how interested I am in them, right, if you spend enough time cracking it and like working at it, right, surely you are going to get a little bit tired or burnt out no matter how interested you are. It's just like how, if you love steak, like every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you eat steak, surely you're going to get sick of it, right? Yeah, so I think the whole concept and idea of like having hustles is very nuanced, and it seems like a lot of people are talking about, you gotta have side income, but not many people are talking about the implications of having side income. And this is assuming that your side hustle kind of takes off and it's generating you income, right? Because I guess one of the questions that I was kind of contending with is, great, now you're doing multiple things and they're all bringing in income, but what are we sacrificing? And is the ROI worth it? Does it make sense, right? Because surely doing 3 jobs or 4 jobs or 5 jobs will take its toll on your life in some manner, right? Because if you're writing 4 articles on Sunday, you're not spending time with, I don't know, whoever you want to spend time with, right? And if you're stuck in the office from 9 to 5, and then after that you got tuition at night, you are not spending time going out there dating or whatever, like surely there are some sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
And for you, like having hustled for many years, doing multiple things at once, even now, right? Multiple things at once. What do you think are some of the things that maybe you have had to sacrifice?
I think the number one thing is time. Time for, actually, I wouldn't even say it's time. I think it's bandwidth, actually. I've thought about this a very long time because people think that I have no free time, which is actually not really true. Because I actually spend a lot of time doing nonsensical things like playing games, watching Netflix.
Right.
Yeah. But I think bandwidth is actually the thing that I realize I don't really have. Right? Bandwidth refers to, I think, the mental capacity to do things beyond your work. Work actually takes out a lot of capacity, right? Because even when you're not working, you're thinking about work, right? So so sometimes you are at a movie with your friends and actually you're thinking about work, right? You're on your phone trying to solve a work issue, right? It doesn't take very long. It takes maybe 30 seconds for you to reply a text message. But the bandwidth that has been robbed from you, it's actually very high. You can't enjoy the movie. You're like waiting for the guy to reply or what. That I think it's very hard for me to describe, but I think you know what I'm trying.
Yeah, for sure. 100% understand. Yeah,
it's like on a Sunday, you have the free time to just relax, and then you can't relax because you are just thinking, actually I should be doing this, which I've not done, that kind of thing. So I think that is really the main thing that I found having multiple things cost. That's the true cost. So even when I have free time, right, I should be maybe meeting my friends, but no, I just want to just doze off. I just want to
basically recover.
I
right?
just want to do nothing, like literally sit down there and then just concuss. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Right. Yeah. And having I completely understand what you're saying also, because I also think that bandwidth is something that is very important, because if we don't have bandwidth, it's very hard for us to deliver quality whatever we're doing, right, to people, because a lot of the things that we do that is I guess not menial, not like sweeping the floor, that basically you can watch Netflix and sweep the floor at the same time, kind of thing, requires a lot of thinking, right? And there's only so much brain juice your brain can squeeze out until you need to recover from it. So bandwidth is something that I think is very precious, but at the same time very difficult to come by, because I think maybe in like the so-called meritocracy, hard work as a value upbringing, a lot of Singaporeans like ourselves are brought up or rather educated in a way to believe that, if we don't work at it, we don't crack at it, then we don't deserve the fruits of our labor, kind of thing, right? And that kind of breeds a little bit of a culture that we have to prioritize work. Just kind of like the example that you are talking about just now, that you go to a movie and then you gotta reply a client, right? Because maybe you feel like it's urgent or things like that. Even though out of the 2 hours you only spend 30 seconds, but like the anxiety of like, shit, I gotta reply this, what the client will reply and things like that, basically rob you of the entire 2 hours, even though you only spend 30 seconds, right? And I think that's quite scary because I don't know if many people feel this way, but I think many people who are freelancers or they run their own businesses could potentially face this issue, because the illusion is how hard we work translates to how much we get, which is not always true in my experience. But in your experience, what do you think?
My experience, I think it is not just how much effort you put in, because if society rewarded people based on how hard they work, right, then the manual laborers, I think they are the hardest workers, right? But that's not the case, So it also depends on what you're working on. Yeah. So the question is on rewards versus hard work.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's hard work multiplied by what you're working on, and that's your rewards, Yeah. Because I've in fact, a lot of people think that I'm working very hard now, which I feel like that's really not the case, I feel like my life right now, in terms of physical exertion or in terms of hours spent on work, I wouldn't say it's at the highest right now, right? But because I built it up, and then I work in areas that I've that's more lucrative for myself, I realize the rewards are coming in now, even though I'm not working the hardest.
Right, like your 80-20, like the 80-20 thing.
In the past, I can work. I used to teach tuition 7 days a week. Yeah, and it's like the full day kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. It is super physically tiring.
It was rewarding. It was lucrative, but even then, that was not. It's not as much as. Now you're venturing into income. It's still okay. I mean, it paid fairly, but of course, I realized over time that online content creation seems to be more lucrative than that. Yeah. So now I've invited a lot of tutors to ponder whether or not they should pivot.
Right. I mean, teaching tuition has always been a very popular, I guess, side hustle for many people, right? Even starting from when people were in uni or in poly, people started teaching tuition because it is for the amount of effort when you are in your late teens or early 20s, the reward is quite not bad,
Correct.
Right? Yeah, and like for you kind of turned it into a little bit of a main hustle kind of thing, which then you kind of figured out a way, pivoted and things like that. But would you, if given the opportunity, right, to kind of restart everything and to choose the things that you can do for work, would you, with the knowledge that you have now, focus a little bit more on what you're currently doing, which is financial advisory, whether it's in the capacity of a content creator or a professional advisor? Or would you also go and explore multiple things like teaching tuition and things like that?
I think sometimes I give the false impression that I have a lot of plans or everything is thought out.
Right.
Yeah, but I think a lot of things boils down to chance. Yeah. Boils down to things happen and then I think, hey, that's interesting, let me try.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a bit like a dog chasing a car, right? Once once the dog catches the car, the dog doesn't know what to do and the dog will find another thing to chase.
Right.
I always describe myself as being like Mario. Mario go along the level and then you have coins to collect and then you suddenly got mushroom there to take. Yeah, that's really how I survive, the way I see it.
Right.
Which is to find things to capitalize on. Okay, this thing looks good. Okay, let's try it out. Okay, that job seems fine. Let's do it. And then the things that start to have results, then I double down on them. Yeah, so if given, let's say now you're saying that I time travel back in time to when I was maybe 21.
Right.
What would I do career-wise? I wouldn't be able to tell you an answer because to me, I think that the online content creation was a happy accident. Yeah, it did not, it was not engineered to be like, I want to be a influencer. I mean, at that time, there was no such
term even.
Yeah, such term, right? There were way fewer. I think Kelvin was the one who really, in Singapore, became one of the first few known to be influencer.
Right.
Now, of course, there were Budget Babe and all.
Right,
but,
like more OG type,
But at that time, 2020, when I started my website, it was just really an online diary. Yeah.
Like you were talking about this reminded me of one thing that one of my friends who is also in sales told me and I think it's quite interesting because he likes to use this term like BB, which is really retarded, but I can see whatever you're saying reminded me of that. So BB stands for Bluetooth and belief, so let me explain. I know this sounds weird, but Bluetooth basically is, I don't know, maybe because my friend is a bit older, but Bluetooth basically kind of represents the idea that people who seek find. Maybe what you find is not what you intend to find, but you find because a lot of times like this, you describe your journey as being Super Mario, right? You jump, then here got mushroom to take. But if you weren't looking for some kind of thing like a mushroom to begin with, you would just bypass the mushroom. You're like, mushroom, huh? Then you don't even know what the mushroom does. Then you just jump past the mushroom, right? So like the idea of like seeking and like just keep moving forward with the idea that you're searching for something. You don't exactly know what it is, what to expect, but you're searching for something. And those who seek, find kind of thing, kind of reminds me of the journey that you're describing. And the second B is belief. Because I think along the way, especially for people like us who there is no real roadmap, right? Like you become an engineer, there is like somewhat of a roadmap, or like you become like a lecturer. There's like a system. There's a sort of like a roadmap, a ladder to climb that when you hit certain KPI, you move up to the next level, right? But for freelancers or people who kind of are journeying to find, to seek, there is not much of a roadmap or correct way to do things, right? So that's why the belief portion becomes very important, because if you lose faith in maybe the thing that you're doing, the thing that you're keen on, and we start to look around us and say like, shit, why Seth is progressing faster than us? We started at the same time, and we lose the trust in the process. It's very easy to stray from the path and I guess get burnt out and things like that lah. So whatever you're saying just now, right, it kind of reminds me of what my friend was telling me, this Bluetooth and belief thing, which is a very cringy way of putting it, but I think it does make some sense, right? Don't you think?
I think the Bluetooth part is actually quite similar to what I mean, there's this thought that I always had lah, but I find it very difficult to articulate it out lah, but I will try lah, which is, I think when it comes to work and income, right, there are different bubbles that people are in, right? So, and we are often trapped in our bubble because we are thinking of earning our next paycheck, right? If you're someone who, you're used to earning 5,000, right? You want to try to earn $6,000. You want to try to earn $7,000. And to get there, you keep doing the things you do, right? You try to do it a little bit better and keep trying to do, more. But if you want to go from 5,000 to 50,000, right? That means you want to 10x your amount. You will actually need to do things very differently, right? You will need to jump to a different bubble to earn $50,000 per month. Yeah, right. So you wouldn't be doing the same things that you're doing, because obviously whatever you're doing is around $6,000. Yeah. So the Bluetooth thing, I think, links to trying to jump out of your current bubble to the next bubble or to another bubble altogether. Like you look at people who make it very big, right? Who's a good example to use? Zuckerberg. I don't know why. The name just keep popping up.
Okay.
But maybe not the best of examples, but he was doing a few things before he founded Facebook, right?
Right.
Yeah, and if he... let me organize my thoughts. Anyone else? Think people doing a few different things and then jump. Zuckerberg didn't do much. He just...
You're challenging me here also. Look, but I kind of get where you're going, lah.
Yeah.
I kind of get where you're going. Yeah.
So, because, if I say this, get cancelled. Wait, I was just looking, I was, sometimes I look at people who are, there's this Netflix show, the Obama show, Work. I forgot the full title.
Right, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing we do all day or something like that.
Right.
So there are people who work different jobs, right? So there are people who work fast food, for example. Okay, again, if you work in fast food, I mean, that's the reality. The pay isn't the best.
Right.
Then you look at someone who work in tech, right? And the way they speak, sometimes I feel like it's not like the fast food worker is necessarily less intelligent than the person who works in tech. It's just that the guy who works in tech, he knows how to do a certain thing. It's knowledge, right? And I used to think that knowledge is free, knowledge is everybody can access, especially with internet now, right? But it's really not the case there. Yeah, it's actually the process of acquiring it and then putting it to practice is actually all that separates someone who works at McDonald's and someone who works at Google. So it's not like, and we don't accept this kind of barriers, we can just try to acquire knowledge to let us have that jump from one bubble to another.
Right.
And that's what I experienced for myself, because in the past, I feel that when I was earning $1,000 per month, right? Because now if I were to use whatever I've learned now to go and my platform now to do
whatever
my
you
IFA
doing
again,
then,
that means I leave my salary job to do a commission FA job, right? I think I can do it way better.
For sure,
okay, that's one example.
Right.
Yeah, and that's all coming from knowledge and experience.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel that we are often trapped in our bubble and we don't find that information or knowledge that we need to jump to another one. Yeah.
Right.
But of course, that's the hard part, right? Knowing that.
Right. Wow, I actually think what you say make a lot of sense, because even for me, and I think some people around me personally, I think people do experience this because, like what you said, right? Knowledge is super accessible. Anybody can learn anything, whether you're paying for it or watching free videos on YouTube, TikTok, reading blogs. Like, the knowledge is out there because of accessibility, because of internet and everything. But the reason why people don't acquire knowledge is not because they're not hardworking most of the time. It's because of the mental block that we have in our own brains that,
correct.
I have been... so like I use myself as an example. I've been in the media, music and marketing industry for like freaking a decade. And when I was transitioning to more to a different industry, right, like real estate that I'm more focused on these days, there was a lot of mental blocks. Like, oh shit, man, I'm relatively experienced in the media slash marketing industry. Now I'm jumping to a completely different industry. Like, I'm basically starting from scratch again, and there's a lot of mental block to acquiring knowledge, and the inertia to jump is obviously very strong, right? But I think one thing that I realized after having done this for a while, having transitioned into like, now I have my hands in, I guess, two different industries that are extremely different from each other. I realized that actually, at the end of the day, right, it's not that different, because whether you're in music, media or marketing, or you're in real estate, or you're in fast food service, or you're in financial advisory work, or you're in tech, I think at the end of the day, a lot of the skills that we acquire from another industry can actually be, you can actually flow it over to another industry, especially a lot of core skills, like, for example, learning how to talk as one human being to another human being, right? Because people say like salespeople, oh, you need to learn how to talk very well. You're being a presenter, being a lecturer, you need to learn how to talk very well. But actually, being a I guess, say like air steward or air stewardess, like the ability and the knowledge to learn how to communicate with your customers on the plane, right, is also very important, because if your customers like you, they I guess they rate you well, and then you have a better time at the job lah, and like the core skills can actually be translated. And the reason why people don't acquire certain technical skills and knowledge is probably because of the mental block that we have in our brain, that things are a certain way, and the inertia to jump is very strong, which is kind of like what you were describing before. And if there is a like a system or a technique, right, to allow humans to lift this mental block a bit, then we become very, very, very powerful in a way lah, because we access all the different soft skills that we need to get a certain job done while absorbing the technical skills at the same time. I don't know where I'm going at.
No, I want to bounce off your point, which is skills are transferable, yes, but sometimes I think you don't even need your set of skills to jump to another bubble. It could be that you're very good at skill A, but skill A pays you a certain amount, right? But actually, when you just hop over to another field, right, which actually doesn't require that much skills, totally different skill set from your current one, but you could earn a lot more there, right? So I think the first thing to realize is that actually, if you're aware of the bubble, then you can find things to see whether you can jump out of the bubble. And that's actually something that I've been wondering for myself as well. Because the way I see it is that I think I started in one bubble, right? I thought, okay, financial advisory, to be ethical, to be client interest first, right? I must sell products that earn me very low commission, and then I earn only 1,000 per month. Okay, but I jumped out of that now. Now when I give so-called advice, right, is okay on my YouTube, on my website, which reach a lot more people. And then correspondingly, I'm paid more for it. So I think I've hopped out from one bubble. But now my question is, okay, clearly I'm in another bubble now, but still a bubble, right? Is there somewhere else to go? And the question for me now is whether or not I want to find time and spend time and effort to figure that out. Yeah, because I think that brings me to the next my next question mark, which is money really the thing? Because we talk a lot about money now, right? Is increasing your income and chasing money the real the sole thing we should be looking for? And I think most people will say no lah, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's true lah, I think. Even though we talk a lot about money, but I think for most people, money is a means to do something. Right? And that something is very different lah for everybody. Right?
I used to see it as a high score. Yeah, but now over time, personal finance, I realize tends to get very philosophical over time. Right? It starts with, okay, what's the best credit card you use? What's the best occupation, earn more money? Then over time, it starts to be like, what is life? What do I want to do with life? That kind of thing.
Right.
I think I'm starting to move to that part of my life now lah. Maybe it's a kind of midlife crisis, but yeah,
not quite there yet.
Almost there already. Yeah. So starting to question a bit more lah. When we think of what's next to earn more money, and I think the natural question now for me is, do you really need to go and earn more money? Yeah. What are you going to do? Because I really don't spend that much.
Right.
Yeah. Like if you compare my spending habits when I was earning 1,000 per month to now, I'll say they're remarkably similar. Of course, my expenses have gone up lah, right? There's some lifestyle inflation, but there are a lot of things that I still don't do. Like I don't take cabs, I don't take taxi, because I feel like they are a waste of money. Yeah. Oof. And when I eat, I mean, of course, there are people who value their time lah. But then, to that I would argue, on the way here, right, I was working on my website.
Right.
I was on my phone,
on the public transport.
And I was playing video games. So to me, that's entertainment time. Yeah. So it's not a waste of time lah. I feel that public transport makes a lot of sense. Till now, I still cannot get over the fact that you can pay more than 10 times, 15 times the cost of a bus or train to save you 30 minutes. I really don't get it, because to me, the time you can spend it productively. Okay, so anyway, my spending habit is very remarkably the same lah. So the question mark is, then why keep trying to increase income? Yeah, that's a big question mark I have for myself lah.
Cause fun ma. I mean, for I mean, okay, this is my view of you lah. I mean, I have no idea, but cause fun ma. I mean, it's it at some point, I guess, for you, because you are interested in personal finance and helping people build wealth, and these people includes yourself lah. So like learning how to build wealth using multiple sources and your skills is kind of like what you say, like a high score thing, like can be quite fun, right?
Yeah, so, okay, but interest, again, I think when you monetize your interest, right, it takes a different color, right?
Okay, yeah, I agree. Yeah, this one I can agree. Right? Yeah, this one I can agree.
So when you're interested in something, okay, when you like, like steak, right, and you love it, but you cannot eat it every single day.
Yeah, right.
Right, and that's the same for things that you monetize, right? I like personal finance, but that doesn't mean that I like to talk about personal finance every single video or content piece that I make.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah, so if I were truly doing things I'm interested in, right? If people truly did things that they're interested in, it would be very random. I think for me especially, right? One video I'll be talking about this nice movie that I saw, another video I'll be talking about this game that I played and I really like the game, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I think the big question for myself is why am I not doing that lah?
Right.
Yeah, I'm interviewing myself now.
No, I think it's great lah, because none of us really have the answers. If we have the answers, then in my short, rather, like I'm 30 next year, right? It's a little bit behind you, but in my short, few decades of living, I realized that, people say market runs in cycles. I think our life also runs in cycles, right? At some point, we hit a little bit of a quarter life, midlife crisis kind of thing, because we ask ourselves the big questions, and then we feel maybe a little bit down, and at some point we have some kind of epiphany, and then we go and we hustle again, and then our life also runs in a little bit of a cycle, I think, because as we gain knowledge and we gain perspective, we see things a bit differently, and our old perspectives and values might not be as relevant anymore, and we hit a little bit of a bear cycle kind of thing, and then it's a cycle. So we are, our life and the knowledge that we attain and our perspectives that change because of the knowledge allow us to ride this cycle and market cannot be always high one . There will be ups and downs, and you are in a little bit of a what's going on kind of thing.
Protracted bear market.
Right, yeah, but the thing is, if we are using, like, say, the finance market as a little bit of an analogy, right? But you're still in the green, what? Like you have been dollar cost averaging for a long time, and you're still in the green, what? You're a little bit of a low cycle in the market, but you're still in the green, and you're in a comfortable position. You did not make stupid moves. Okay, never mind, let's not go there. But yeah.
I think it's a privileged place to be in, Yeah, to think. I mean, certain questions you ask yourself, sometimes it really comes from a place of privilege, and I recognize that, because there are some people who cannot think of such things, right? They cannot say, oh, should I stop working? Should I stop increasing my income? Because as you mentioned, there's now cost of living issues,
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm quite thankful that I'm in this position. But I guess what I think is important, right, is clarity, There are people who are very clear. Their goal is to earn as much money as they can, right? And then they go about doing that. And then there are people who are like, no, I don't want that life. So Jean Voronkova. She gave up being a lawyer.
Oh, right. The surfer girl.
Yeah. So I always found her very admirable, because she was very clear. Okay, she tried having a big shot career, and then she tried backpacking, and then she realized that, hey, I like the life of living in Bali, doing what I love, surfing, etc. Yeah. So I think it's really clarity that is important, which I'm actually a little bit lacking on right now, Not really sure what's next. So that's something I'm looking for.
Clarity changes with perspective also, right? Clarity is a byproduct of perspective in some way, and our perspective change also, So, like, say someone who is very clear on their goals could wake up one day with a different perspective, and you lose clarity, right? Speaking from experience, yeah, that one is my own. Yeah, so clarity is not a constant, I think. Right, because you might have clarity at a certain season or period in your life, but with new knowledge, new perspective, you might lose clarity again, because clarity is not like a constant. It's a variable, Clarity. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. This is getting a little bit
philosophical,
yeah,
like.
But I think what you're doing is really cool, and that's why I like talking to you. And I hope that you will continue to do it for the people who read your content. And speaking of which, right, if someone is discovering you for the first time, where can they actually find you online if they want to read your content or watch your YouTube videos or maybe connect with you to understand a little bit more about your day job? You can share with
the best way is Sethisfy.com/Telegram. Yeah, so my Telegram will cross-post links from my website, from my YouTube, sometimes from my TikTok also. Yeah, so that's the central place to find my content.
Sethisfy.com, and that is SETHI.
SFY. It's a bad pun on my name.
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much for coming down today, Seth.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on the One Day at a Time podcast. Peace.
Bye.